Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Self-Confidence Project. I'm your host, Kimberly, and today we're going to be talking about a psychological principle that a lot of you have probably never heard about, although you're probably witnessing it and experiencing it in your day-to-day lives. And it is the reason that so many men will stay on a woman's mind long after the first date or the first interaction in a cafe, bar, wherever you might be approaching and talking to women. Now, what I'm sharing with you today is not about looks, it's not about charm, it's not about money. Those are factors, of course, that contribute to connection with individuals. But what I'm sharing with you today is not even about what you say, it's all about what you don't say or what you didn't say on a date. And that's what I'm going to break down today. I'm going to share how it works, how you can apply and use this in dating in an ethical, authentic, genuine way. Now, before I dive in, if you're brand new to this channel, welcome aboard. My name is Kimberly. I'm a dating and relationship coach for men. And we talk all things life and dating and modern dating and all the tricky components of it and just how to have genuinely loving long-term relationships. Now, what I'm unpacking today is something that's called the Zeigarnik effect. And this, in fact, is a psychological principle that explains why people, and in this case, women, remember unfinished or interrupted tasks more vividly than completed ones. Now, this was named after psychologist Bluma Zeigarnik, who discovered that waiters or servers who are serving you food at a restaurant will remember the unpaid tabs or unpaid bills better than ones that had already been closed. What motivated her to do this study? I have no idea. But this effect is actually being widely used in marketing, in cliffhangers on TV shows, and on story arcs that are going to leave you really craving and wanting a resolution. So if any of you tune into Amazon Prime or Netflix or Crave or whatever you might subscribe to, wherever you watch your shows, at the end of the first episode, they're going to leave you wanting more. The story is not finished. And that's what makes you press play on episode number 2. And that's what makes you press play on episode number 3, and so on and so forth. So this is actually the Zeigarnik effect at play. Because the story is unfinished, because you don't know exactly what's going to happen next, or because they're leaving you at a cliffhanger, you're wanting more. You want to keep tuning in. So let me turn my phone off here. So few people are realizing how powerfully this is actually showing up in dating, or how powerfully it can show up in dating. Now, I'm going to highlight this through a story. So one of my clients, David, he went on a date with this incredibly beautiful, sharp, engaging woman named Claire. And their first date, they actually decided to go downtown and meet at a really cozy wine bar. They had really natural chemistry. They were both very intelligent individuals, both very curious. And in fact, their first date was going as amazingly as one would hope, right? They were even flirty with one another. But over the course of the evening, she got more interested in him. She was asking about his recent travels. And the temptation when asked a question like that is to share the story that you have from your recent travel, or get into some of the most exciting content. Because oftentimes we think that if we share this exciting story, that's going to make this person really connect to us, going to make them really like us. But in this case, David was actually applying the Zeigarnik effect. He didn't recognize he was doing it. He was just doing it naturally. And so when he was talking to Claire, he didn't just immediately start taking over the evening, going into this amazing story of this trip from Peru that he just got back from. He actually hinted at this amazing story from his recent Peru trip. And he kind of teased her a little bit. He said, well, thanks for asking. It was a really amazing trip. In fact, there's this hilarious story that involved running into a stranger's wedding and this flooded river. But David stopped short of telling Claire the whole story. And as she was leaning in and was really intrigued, she wanted more, he was flirting with her. In fact, he smiled and he said, well, that's actually a story for another night. You're going to like it, I promise. So this is a perfect example of how the Zeigarnik effect creates mystery. It creates intrigue. It actually triggers the psychological elements that create female desire. So Claire wanted to know more. She was interested, just like you're interested in pressing play on the next Netflix episode. Right? And so the date with David and Claire ended with a lot of warmth, but it ended with this clear sense of possibility because not everything was revealed in that first date. David didn't feel he needed to over-explain or that he had to capture all of her interest in that moment by giving her that whole amazing story of his trip. He wasn't chasing her. And so what happened next was she texted him the next day and the next day after that. And the reason is because she was still very engaged. there were loose threads from the evening. She was still thinking about him because David didn't just give her the whole platter or everything on the menu. And so this is highlighting how sometimes just holding a little bit back in a story, in the mysteries of your life, and in something that you're revealing to somebody on a first date can actually lead to more interest, more intrigue, more curiosity, more anticipation, which all trigger the psychological elements of female desire. So I want to share with you a couple practical applications where you can actually use the Zeigarnik effect in dating that are all these are all genuine things, right? These are all authentic things. This is just learning how to become a better storyteller, learning how to become a more intriguing individual. And this will serve you in your friendships as well. Your next Thanksgiving dinner will be a little more interesting, so you're not going to give it all away necessarily. So the first practical application, right, is leaving some stories unfinished. Now, you're not going to leave every answer to every question unfinished, but maybe there are some stories you do leave unfinished because it will create this incomplete emotional loop. So instead of telling a woman every detail about your career when she asks you, or every detail about your recent travel or trip, you're going to share part of a compelling story, and then you save a piece for later. And you might say something, if you're a little more flirtatious, you might say, well, remind me to tell you about the worst Airbnb experience of my life. You're going to love it. Or me personally thinking of something like, remind me, guys, to tell you when I traveled to Hong Kong when I was working in my previous career in financial derivatives. I had a trip to Hong Kong that actually involved a rugby player, a hotel room, and the threat of death from peanuts. This is a true story, so actually remind me to tell you later. But this is what keeps you intrigued. You want to know more. What is this story? I want to get to the ending. Well, in order to get the ending, guys, we got to go on another date. We got to get to know each other a little bit more, because I ain't giving away all my best stories and secrets to you on date number one. You got to earn it, right? So you leave the story unfinished. And that's one practical application for dating. It's hugely important. Now, secondly, is not over texting or over validating a woman or the interaction post a date. Now, it's really tempting after you have a really wonderful evening with a woman to send her a message the next day. That's kind of a summarization of the evening. I had a really nice time. It was great to meet you. The food was delicious. I'd love to see you again. It's like, okay, that's fine if you want to send a text like that. But you're not really leaving a woman space to reflect on the evening or to miss you. So a more intriguing, a more playful, a more confident text is going to be something along the lines of, I just keep thinking about that hilarious laugh you had when we talked about our Halloween costumes. You're actually in trouble, and I'm going to tell you why later. This is like, I'm confident that we're going to keep this connection going. And so I don't need to summarize the evening. I don't even need to ask you for the next date right away. I'm just reveling in how wonderful the connection was and alluding to the fact that we're going to see each other again. And you still got to earn why you're in trouble or the rest of this story. And this is called just being a little more intriguing, right? Versus writing a woman a summary email post date or what kind of feels like an email, dear, Claire, it was so wonderful to meet you last evening, and I really enjoyed our connection, and I would really like to see you again, and I would like to know when you're free next. That's nice, and women are going to still enjoy receiving those messages, but she's also, if she's got two guys in front of her and she had two good dates and one man sends her this like very nice summary and the other guy intrigues her in this playful way, you know what option she's picking, right? So a third practical application, guys, for how you can use this in dating. I just saw a spider on my wall. Jesus Christ, I'm not a spider lady. Okay, the third application for how you can use this, I keep my eye on it, is teasing the next date without giving it all away. So you want to create this curiosity. So if a woman, receives a message from you and you're like, hey, I really look forward to our next date. This is where I've planned. This is the time. This is everything about the details of the event. That's fine. It's going to be helpful. She's going to be able to think about it. She's going to know what's coming. But if you want to plan a date and keep this anticipation and curiosity and desire going, then you're going to say something like, look, I've got an idea for our next date. It's going to involve wine. It's going to involve a little bit of exercise and possibly some terrible dancing. And she's going to be thinking, what? has this guy got planned for me? And you might say, look, I'll tell you a little more when we find a time. So again, you're not giving everything away. And I genuinely believe, like, this is my own personal principle that I've lived my life by, that anticipation is half of life's pleasure. So when I can anticipate something without knowing the full details of it, I get excited. In fact, sometimes a little bit of anxiety because I don't know what's coming, and I hope that I'm prepared. And you know what? That puts me in a position somewhat of submission to the person organizing the date, or my partner organizing the date. So it's like, I got to lean back and trust that you know what you're doing and that I can follow you to this great experience. So when you're planning a date with a woman, it's, don't give her all of the details about everything. Intrigue her, be playful. Man, it's so fascinating how interested I am when you don't tell me everything versus when you do tell me everything. And I think that is very true based on the Zeigarnik effect, and for how women get really connected to men. Now, another practical application, guys, for how you can use this on dating is end your evening, end your date, or end your conversation on a high note. I've been talking about this for ages before I knew it was part of the Zeigarnik effect. And this leaves a woman wanting more. So a practical example here is, let's say you see this beautiful woman at a restaurant, and you decide at some point or at a bar, right? You go up next to her to order your own drink and you start to chit chat with her and you're having this like fun little connection that's taking place in just a couple minutes. Get out of there. Do not wait until the conversation fades. Don't wait till the energy fades. Don't wait for that natural pause to then exit the conversation. Cut this conversation short and cut your dates short while things are still elevated, right? While they're still elevated, because this amplifies the feeling of wanting more. Oh, this guy, he just came up and ordered a drink and we had this amazing connection and I looked in his eyes and then he's gone. Versus I started to chat with this guy and then he kind of hung around a little long and then things got a little awkward and then he asked for my number. The first one, where it's short and there's mystery, is so much more intriguing, and women are going to be looking around for you in this environment. They're going to be wanting more. So you might say, look, I've got to run, but let's not leave this too long. I want to hear what you think about that other restaurant we just talked about. I'd love to grab your number. You grab the number quickly, you get out of there. Don't linger around. Lingering creates pressure. Pressure creates avoidance for women. Avoidance means they're running for the hills, right? So you leave when things are going good, not once they've gotten to a point of like, well, I don't know what else to say. And that's some practical applications, guys, for how you can use this Zeigarnik effect to create intrigue and desire and mystery and anticipation for women you're dating. It's what makes them want more of you. It's actually a different way of getting the same advice that my therapist gave me years ago, because I was a bit of an anxious dater. And she said, look, Kimberly, you just don't know enough about this person to be certain. You need to learn a little more. You need to slow things down. Don't give all of yourself away from day one, thinking that you need to do that in order to win someone's affection. There's a quiet confidence in not being fully known or fully understood, especially in the early days of getting to know somebody. So on an ethical component, because some people think when you talk about psychological hacks that we're talking about manipulation. Now, the goal here is not to play games. The goal here is not to control anybody. It's to create the natural rhythm of interest and anticipation. Because women don't fall for the guy who lays it all out in one sitting. They remember the man who invites discovery over time. In fact, it's the same principle you can apply to your intimate experiences with women. You wanna eat the whole cake right away? Well, what are you going to be desiring later if you give it all away right from the beginning? So, look, this is the Zeigarnik effect. It shows us really that this incompleteness is what can create curiosity. So think about how maybe you've actually been on the receiving end of this and felt really intrigued to learn more. I mean, that's what movie trailers are all about, right? You get this little snippet of the movie and then you're like, oh, I want to watch that because I want to fill in all the gaps, right? So if you want to stand out, don't try and tell your whole life story or finish every story or over text or over summarize or give all of the details away with full clarity. Guys, leave some space, invite this intrigue, because if this resonated with you, then I would love to hear your comments below. And I want you to think, have you ever noticed a woman staying curious after you didn't say everything? I want to hear your take. And if you're a man who is really tired of shallow conversations, you're tired of inconsistent dating, and you're just never really creating that spark with women, then I invite you to book a complimentary call with me if you think I could be the right fit for you. I'd love to chat with you. We'll get to know each other, see if we're the right fit for coaching. If not, happy to leave you with some other resources. And we'll really look at what's going on for you. And I want to help you, and I help good-hearted men to build real, lasting connections. So thanks so much for tuning in today, and look forward to another episode next week, guys. Ciao.